You can't sleep, you can't concentrate, and you're exhausted. Your patience is different, it's changed. Your energy is different, and you're sitting at your desk and you're wondering, what's happening to me? And for women in midlife, those changes can affect far more than our personal lives. They affect our confidence, our careers, our relationships, and sometimes whether we believe that we can actually continue doing the work that we love. I'm Lisa Kelly, host and creator of Grief Space Channel and workplace grief coach. Today, we are talking about what happens when your body is changing, but the job expectations are the same. And my guest has lived the story. Her name is Dr. Rekishia McMillan. I welcome her. She's an author, a health and wellness professional. She's a podcaster, an advocate for helping women understand their bodies, and especially during the season when everything is changing. Before you became a health professional, what was happening in your own life and body that made you realize that something had to change?
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. And it is my absolute delight to be on the show today. I was actually serving on active duty with the Air Force and being in the military, high operations tempo 24/7. And it got to the point to where the stress, the anxiety between the travel, the training, it all caught up to me. It led me down a 7 year cycle of being over medicated but not receiving the answers that I needed regarding my health. At the time, I did not know that I was also transitioning into perimenopause. Out of all of the blood work that was done, my doctors were running blood work panels, everything was showing there was nothing wrong, no underlying issues. But I've come to understand just because there's not any indicators showing up in the blood work doesn't mean that there's not an underlying condition. And for me, it was perimenopause. My hormones were changing. And because I wasn't getting the answers that I needed, that led me down a relentless pursuit of finding the answers that I needed. I began to integrate holistic strategies into my lifestyle, beginning to really help alleviate many of the symptoms that I was experiencing that I just was not receiving from medications, whether it was the migraine headaches I was having, hypoglycemia, not being able to sleep at night. I wasn't getting the relief, but as I began to implement those strategies, my health began to radically change. I had more energy, chronic fatigue syndrome left, and I made the decision that after I retired from the military, I would go back to school, pursue my education, which I did, and that landed me in this wonderful profession that I'm doing now, helping women to increase their energy, balance their hormones, and just feel great again.
Must have been difficult at work for you. There are some of the things that can be brought out in a situation like this. For example, confusion, exhaustion, feeling
Yes.
dismissed.
Yes.
Anything else come to mind?
Yeah, for me, I just felt, Lisa, like I was not being heard because I
Mm.
was, making the appointments to my doctors on multiple occasions and no one was providing me with the solutions or the answers. And every time I would tell them what was going on with me, I remember one doctor said, "Hey, at the time my name was Sergeant Beans, your blood work looks like that of an athlete. There's nothing wrong with you." Then another doctor said, "There's nothing wrong with you. This is all in your head." And so I was horrified because I'm like, these are my healthcare providers. I'm looking for answers, I'm looking for help, but I just wasn't getting that help. And so that taught me a valuable lesson that as I decided to move into the health profession, one of the most critical skills I believe is listening, Lisa. Listening to women because what they're experiencing is not just all in their head. It's not something that they're making up, but these are real biological factors that are impacting their everyday work life. And I know that firsthand because it was happening to me.
Was there a moment that you realized that I can't do this anymore?
When I got to the end of that 7 year cycle, being over medicated, I was not able to function in my everyday life. And one of the final diagnoses that I received, because I had chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic inflammation within the body, I was diagnosed with fibroids, and my doctor said, hey, we're going to have to test the fibroids to ensure that they're non-cancerous. Thankfully, they came up to where they were non-cancerous, and that was the pivotal moment for me because I'm a mom, my son was young at the time, and I decided that if I do not become my own health advocate and take matters into my hands, so to speak, that this was not going to get any better.
Wow. It was pivotal for you. What are some of the symptoms that women you know and coach experience in menopause and perimenopause? And
Um,
they can sometimes be mistaken for something else.
oh, yes. The main symptoms that I hear women talk about a lot are the brain fog, not being able to concentrate, not being able to remember. So their cognitive health is being impacted. Another area is sleep. Women simply are not able to sleep soundly through the night. Whether you were able to get 5 to 7 hours of sleep, now you're waking up at 2 a.m., you're waking up at 3 a.m. Sleep is a major symptom that many women experience. Another one is that women experience a lot of the incontinence as well, not realizing that as our estrogen declines, estrogen has a key role in helping with our bladder control. And so as the estrogen levels decline, if we cough, if we sneeze, if we laugh, we may notice there's a little bit of tinkling, that takes place because the estrogen is not there to support our bladder health. And so those
Right.
are some of the top ones, the incontinence, sleep deprivation, as well as cognitive function and the brain fog.
Those are huge. Those are often what we hear about too, and they're real. Brain fog. What does brain fog look like at work?
Yes, and so your everyday routines that you are used to doing, whether that's reading material on your job, and you read a paragraph 2 or 3 times, and you have to continually rehearse that information, but you're not retaining it. That's a symptom of brain fog. Not remembering names of your clients that you're seeing, your customers on a daily basis. You're walking into a room, you forgot why you're there, you're missing meetings, you're missing scheduled appointments because these are symptoms that there's an underlying concern going on with the brain fog.
Yeah, this is where I see a connection with the work that I do, Dr. Rekishia, around grief, because sometimes women aren't only experiencing physical symptoms, they're grieving, I guess, the person they once were.
Oh, yes. And that's a great point that you bring up, too, because many times, whether it's your supervisor or your manager, they're looking at the outer symptoms of what a person is displaying on their job. Okay, they're making errors, they're not showing up. They're just looking at, okay, the outer part of what that person is exhibiting in the workforce, but there's deeper underlying emotional concerns, hormonal concerns that are taking place that the supervisor needs to see through a different set of eyes or a different lens, so to speak, but that only comes with awareness and education and bringing that into the workspace.
Yeah, one component that I have seen a few times is clients are wondering if they can still do the job that they've always done. These are grieving clients, and I'm
Mhm.
sure menopausal clients are saying the same thing. Can I
Um,
still do this? Am I still capable?
Yes, I actually had a conversation with a client within the past 2 weeks that she was working in the corporate sector. She was a paralegal, and because of the hormonal changes that she was experiencing in her body, where when you're dealing with a lot of whether it is research, investigative work as a paralegal working alongside a team of lawyers, and you're not able to perform at the level that you previously did, that is heartbreaking. And for her, I could just tell that that was a major loss for her because she could no longer work in the corporate sector doing what she loved because of the changes that she was experiencing physically.
What do you wish that woman had known before she had made that decision, Rekishia?
Yes, and I am a huge supporter of workforce wellness. And within workforce wellness, I truly believe that there needs to be a component where we're discussing hormonal changes for women who are going through perimenopause, menopause. I wish that she had known that there is support that is out there, but it's lacking in our workforce environments. It's just not there. And so, whether it was being able to connect to someone in the community that could help her to navigate this new terrain that she was experiencing with her hormonal changes, that there is support there and knowing how to listen to the body. And I always say that our bodies have a language, right? And we have to learn that language. And when we understand that, we begin to move into those areas where we can support the body with what it needs because we're understanding the language. And so for her, I wish it would have been that connecting to support to provide her with understanding that her body's communicating in a different way and there's support that is available, but knowing how to provide that support to her body could have helped her to navigate that so much better to the point where she could have still been working and doing what she loved, but it was just the level of support that was lacking for her.
And you are so passionate about this. This is why you've extended your expertise in health and wellness into the corporate world.
Well, absolutely, because you think about, in our work environments, we're there sometimes 8 hours of the day or more. We spend the majority of our days, our time within that work setting. And many employers today do have wellness strategies to provide to their employees because they know that if you're able to support them with education and lifestyle approaches that are going to improve not only their health, but it's exceptional for the employee, but also for the business or the corporation as well.
Right, right. Communication is so important, but sometimes we don't realize that our body is communicating to us.
Mm-hmm.
My body is telling me something is very important. How can we
Yes.
distinguish that between I'm just tired?
Oh, yes. And so that's a great question. The body is always speaking, and those symptoms are the way that your body is speaking. If you have an ache here, your body is speaking. If you have a condition that is continually showing up, that is certainly your body speaking. And so being able to differentiate between the two, if it is something that is consistently showing up in your life, that is an area that must be addressed. It's kind of like, we maintain our vehicles, we maintain our cars, we provide the oil changes, and we do that in order to keep the health of our cars up and going to get to the destinations that we need to get to. It's the same way with our body, that we've got to provide it with what it needs, whether that is nourishing food, whether that is rest, whether that is a higher level of self-care, especially as we're going through hormonal changes. We need to lean into that to provide the body with what it needs.
Suppose I'm listening to you right now, Rakisia, and I'm sitting at my desk thinking, okay, this explains a lot. What do I actually do, say Monday morning?
Mm-hmm. Now, that's a great question. That as you're listening to this, and you might find yourself in this conversation that Lisa and I are having, and you're saying, that's me. I'm
Yeah.
experiencing some of these same symptoms that I am going through right now. The number one thing that I always recommend to women, please do not ignore the symptoms. Please don't ignore the symptoms because sometimes it's easier to ignore rather than seek out the support that you're needing for your body at the time. So, whatever symptoms you are going through, and you feel that it is hormonal, the number one thing that I always share with women, have a full blood work panel completed, right? Go to your doctor, let them know that you feel that there's some hormonal changes going on and you'd like to have a blood work panel completed, specifically for your hormones. And within that blood work, they will be able to identify if it's, you might be having, migraines that are connected to estrogen deficiency, or you may be experiencing the sleepless nights because your progesterone levels are off, or they're going to be able to pinpoint. So I would say with every woman, start with the blood work. That's the number one place. And then when you start with the blood work, then you can begin to implement those strategies, whether it is through nutritional support, whether it is through changing lifestyle habits that are going to support your health, would be the first place to start.
I can remember experiencing a depletion in energy. It just plummeted. What what can we do during the workday to improve our energy?
Hmm. A lot of times when energy plummets on the job, the first response is I need to get a candy bar or I need some soda to wake myself up. And I know because I used to be there. You're going for that soda, you're going for the candy bar. However, in order to maintain and sustain your energy, I want you to ask the question, is what I'm putting in my body going to fuel me with energy, or is it going to deplete my energy? That you may feel good momentarily while you're eating that candy bar and drinking the soda, but later on the energy crash is going to come even more. Like it may pick you up for a moment, but you're going to
Yeah.
experience the energy crash sooner or later. And so, whether that's ensuring that you're bringing those healthy snacks that are going to energize you, making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. That is one of our most basic, simple ways to fuel our body with energy, is simply by drinking clean, filtered water. Another thing that you can do is step away from the desk and intentionally go outside and get into
Right.
the fresh air, get some sunshine, awaken the body. Because when you are out in the fresh air, you're taking those deep breaths, you're waking up your nervous system, you are grounding yourself, you're regulating hormones, you're reducing, stress within the body, but you're also energizing your blood cells as well. So those are the two things. Drink clean water, get out into the fresh air. Even if you're eating something, ensure that it's going to be something that's going to add to your health. Maybe it might be a cup of blueberries. Maybe it may be a handful of, mixed nuts, but let it be something that is going to fuel your energy source and not deplete it.
Right. The key words you said were maintain and sustain.
Mm.
We need to maintain and sustain that energy.
Absolutely, because it's a beautiful thing to be able to live in that space of having that feeling of endless energy,
Mhm.
and that comes from the food that you're eating, because
Mhm.
every food that we eat has something that's called a lectin, and a lectin will either cause the blood to become sluggish or it will energize you because of the food that you're eating and nourishing your body with. So lean into those foods that are going to provide you with the energy. Lean into those foods that are going to provide nourishment to help you to get through your day.
I teach my clients who go back to work to probably avoid the break room for a while. And just for that very reason, they're not surrounded by tempting food that's not helpful, and they get don't go outside. And we need the sunshine, we need the vitamin D, we need the exposure for our eyes, our circadian rhythm, everything.
Absolutely.
We realize that people who are going through menopause don't sleep well at all.
Yes.
I need your advice on that.
Sleep, sleep. Every woman who's going through menopause. And I never thought this would happen to me, Lisa. because I would hear so many different stories of like women not sleeping, and I'm like, why can't they sleep? Like, why are we having these sleep issues? But again, when the estrogen declines, the sleeping patterns, sleep wake patterns are affected. And I'm so glad that you mentioned getting out in the sun with the circadian rhythm, because that has so much to do with our sleep wake patterns. Getting out in that sunlight first thing in the morning, aligning the circadian rhythm, because that will affect you when it comes to your body shutting down and entering into that sleep cycle. Because estrogen, I believe it is the most significant hormone within our bodies, Lisa, because it impacts so much to include sleep. One of the things that I've learned in helping women with, because we have such a decline in estrogen, it is almost like you have to put your body in a state where it thinks that it is still producing estrogen by providing it with foods that what we call phytoestrogens, those foods that mimic estrogen. So whether that is flaxseed, which is one of my top, ensuring that you're getting flaxseed in your diet every single day. One of the hacks that I do is that I have my vitamin C water, and I'll take 2 teaspoons of ground flaxseed, mix it up so it's like an orange malt, and I have it first thing in the morning, because that's going to awaken your body to put it in a state to where it really believes that it's mimicking producing estrogen, because you're ingesting a phytoestrogen food. So getting things in your diet like flaxseed, even soy. There are some forms of healthy soy that women can ingest that will help the body to get into that state where it feels like it's producing that estrogen, and that's going to begin to impact your sleep in a positive way, in a positive way. And so the foods are a major, major component of helping the body to stay in that state where it thinks it's producing the estrogen by the foods that we eat. So it has to be something that you're doing on a daily basis. So whether that's getting the flaxseed into your diet, the leafy greens, ensure that you're eating a nutrient dense diet to support your hormone health.
I'd like to ask them to optimize their morning smoothie for their commute to work, and as you suggested, add some flax seeds and blueberries and green frozen spinach.
Absolutely.
Just get that smoothie to be more optimally healthy for you. It's just an
Absolutely.
easy way.
Yes.
Oh, let's get to the break room again. Why are breaks so important, especially for women already dealing with fatigue and stress? What would someone actually do during a 10 or 15-minute break?
Yeah, breaks are so important. Ladies, don't work through your workday. If you are allotted that time, take that time. During that 15 minutes, do something that is going to nourish your body. Whether that is taking a walk out in the fresh air, getting out in the sunshine, as Lisa mentioned earlier, listening to a positive podcast, even if you're practicing meditation, maybe you're saying a prayer during that 10 minutes, but just do something that is going to pull you away, even if it's practicing deep breathing, because what's going to happen is you're going to pull yourself intentionally out of that stressful environment, putting your body in a state of relaxation, which is going to lower that stress hormone, the cortisol in the body, to bring you to that place of balance. And so again, please do not work through your breaks, but be intentional. Even if you have to set a timer on your watch, on your smartphone, to say at 11 o'clock every day, no matter what, I'm going to stop and I'm going to be intentional about taking this break, because you're doing something kind for yourself. Think of it as setting an appointment with yourself every single day. That 11 o'clock, I have an appointment that I'm setting for myself, that you take time out to do so much for everyone else on your job. Pull away and let that time be specifically allotted for you and yourself.
I used to be terrible at taking breaks until perimenopause drove me to taking them.
Yeah.
I had a walking buddy who would hold me accountable and say, "Hey, get up
Oh, yeah.
and let's go walk." She was really faithful, and I was wanting to skip breaks. It also makes for great community and connection,
Mm-hmm.
just simple things. And speaking of simple things, why do we even resist the simple things that we know are good for us? Like
Mm-hmm.
breathing, like walking, and taking in those deep breaths, sunlight,
Yes.
water.
Yes. Those are the foundational components to our health. And sometimes I think because we've gotten so caught up into whether it's our digital world where things have become so complex that we think that it takes something profound to shift our health when it's really rooted in the simplistic practices that are free to all of us.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be something that's elaborate, it doesn't have to be something that is complex, but it's something that's very simple. And I think a lot of times it's rooted in because we've gotten into the habit of just getting caught up in our cycle of working incessantly and not taking the breaks, not pulling away, that we feel like we just have to power through and get it done. Like the work is always going to be there.
Right,
But just
right.
taking that time to be intentional and to begin to create healthy habits. And so that's a healthy habit. Pulling away intentionally, taking your break is creating a healthy, intentional habit.
We have made wellness so complicated, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And it reminds me of a quote, and I think that it was either, I think it was Hippocrates or someone said that the doctors of the future will be given to fresh air, sunshine, healthy food, and clean water. That's the doctor of the future, where we've complicated with so many things that are outside of the basic foundation of our health that we've forgotten what it means to live healthier. Because even if you look at blue zones, right, those people
Mhm.
that live to 100 or more, they are majoring in the basics. They're getting their rest. They're in community. They're serving one another. They're eating healthy food. They're drinking water. And they live these incredible lives, longer lives that are a different quality of life, a different quality of living, because they're practicing the basics consistently every single day. And so we've got to get back to the basics.
We do. And being simple would promote consistency too.
Yes.
Grief is exhausting.
Mm.
What happens to our health when we're grieving and we're also not taking care of ourselves?
Hmm. Yes, because a number of health conditions can arise from that. Because if we are
Mhm.
not eating well, that leads to higher levels of depression, that can lead to chronic inflammation within the body. It can lead to chronic fatigue syndrome. And so, when we're not caring for our body and being intentional about eating well, and sometimes it's hard because you may be still going through that grieving process, but I say, even if you can just do a little bit, even if it's drinking water, even if it is developing a bedtime regimen where it's going to help you to get in bed, whether it's an hour or two earlier, every single night, because when we're not being intentional in supporting our health with those healthier habits, it can lead you into, again, deeper levels of depression. It can lead you into experiencing chronic inflammation, and other health conditions can arise when we're not being intentional about taking care of our health.
Mhm. For me, I had acquired a high blood pressure during my corporate work, and I implemented a lot of these things that we've talked about today, and it had to be simple. So it improved my blood pressure when I did that. I'm not on any blood pressure medications anymore, and it's fine. I don't do anything complicated.
Simplicity is key.
Yes, or else we won't stick to it.
Right, no, that's true. It doesn't have to be hard. It is very simple when we approach it from that foundational work of doing
Right.
the simple things. It's highly effective.
Mm, it is. We've talked about the body and the brain, nutrition, sleep and stress, and what else? But you and I also believe there's another dimension to health that doesn't always get talked about in the workplace.
Yes.
What role has your faith played in your own healing journey?
Oh, it has been a major, major factor in my life because when I was going through many of the challenges that I was facing on active duty, it was really through a time of prayer and meditation that I received the answers that I needed to help recover my health. And that's how I wrote my book because I got the wisdom that I needed to implement those keys and now share those with others. But for me, my faith was foundational because I got to the point to where I wasn't getting the answers. I wasn't getting any of the solutions that I needed. And so it was really through a time of prayer and meditation that I received the answers that I had been wanting for 7 years, but never received and was able to receive those answers. So it's been a great foundational component like of my work that I do in my personal life. It has been pivotal to everything.
Connection with the divine, it's pivotal for certain. And then we have human connection too. That's really important.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about only in the workplace situation itself.
Mhm.
Why is human connection such an important part of our health?
Oh, yeah, we are relational people. And when you shared that, Lisa, it made me think about when I went through graduate school, we did a lot of research on human touch and human connection. And they did some studies concerning newborn babies and newborn babies that were having that connection with their mother as soon as they were born, laid on their mother's breast, and they had that bonding. The other study had those babies who did not have that bond with their mothers at birth. Those children were tracked from birth all the way up to adulthood, and they had
Right.
major challenges connecting with people and developing healthy relationships. And so when it comes to having the human element and connecting with people, we were meant to have that inner, that one on one, that touch with one another, whether it is meeting for that cup of tea or just sitting down having a meal together or even talking on the phone. We need to have the human element where we're living in a society where we're becoming more disconnected, but we've got to fight to keep that human element in our relationships because we need one another for the support. No matter who we are at some place, at some time in our life, we are going to need someone. We're going to need someone to be there to support us in those times of difficulty that we may be going through. But it's very uplifting to know that you have someone in your corner, even if it's just to listen to what you're going through, or they may be able to relate to your experience to say, hey, I went through something similar. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can have a level of empathy and a level of understanding to bring into the relationship.
It's great. We can find some of those conversations at work with other women and connections.
Oh yes, it's amazing. So, as Lisa shared, she had a walking buddy at her job. If there's a woman on your job, find a walking
Yes.
partner because out of those walks, so many talks and fruitful conversations come about. You get to know the person better. You begin to establish a relationship with them as you are not only doing something good for your health, but you're also adding that social component where you're connecting with someone as well.
You and I both approach our coaching with a holistic framework. We take into consideration all parts of a being, the social aspects, the lifestyle, the nutrition, rest. And one thing I wish employers understood about their women workers going through menopause is that the capability and of these employees is not gone. It just needs to be uncovered again because
Hmm.
there are a myriad of things that are interfering with that. It
Yes.
doesn't mean that they cannot do the job anymore. These employees usually have been there for many years if they are going through menopause, perimenopause, and there's so much talent there.
Oh, absolutely. Because we have some amazing, incredible women in our workforce. And I truly believe this is where education comes into the conversation when it comes to the employer and the employee to know how can we support this person who's been a member of our organization, who's been on our team for X number of years, what can we do to support rather than looking at women as a problem or they can no longer function or they can no longer do
Right.
the job. Let's have the conversation about what can we do to bring a level of support in the work environment to help navigate this time of change in her life, which will be beneficial to not only her, but it will still be beneficial to the organization as well.
When I do presentations and work one-on-one with leaders, the thing that I suggest is providing these employees psychological safety to take them out of that fight or flight so they can relax and be able to do the other modalities that we work with.
Hmm. No, that's so good because you're right. Taking them out of that fight or flight is so important. And that's not a conversation that I think that we lean into enough, but it's a conversation that we need to have often to bring a level of understanding within the work environment to have a greater perspective as far as what's actually happening in her life as well as in that workspace.
Yeah, and providing psychological safety, one of the examples is shaming people for their symptoms. And
Mm,
it seems like when a person is sick or has another issue, there's no shame attached to that. But when they're going
right.
through menopause, there's the jokes and the comments.
It's so true, Lisa, that we've got to really begin to change the narrative and the conversation in
Yes.
the workspace to bring it in a more positive light because
Hmm.
so many women are really suffering in silence with the symptoms that they are experiencing because the jokes may come forth, but deep down she's struggling, she's hurting,
Right.
and there
Yeah.
needs to be a level of understanding that comes along with that.
Mm. And making reasonable accommodations too, like being flexible with hours and workplace structure, um,
Hmm.
maybe working in a quiet atmosphere now,
Oh, yes.
being flexible.
Mm, absolutely. And it's managers, supervisors, employers have to be open to having that conversation too, knowing that, okay, there does need to be change that has to take place or must take place within the work environment in order to support the needs of that woman.
Mhm. Yep. What do menopause and grief have in common when it comes to the workplace? I mean, both can involve identity changes and fatigue.
Mm,
Both can involve concentration problems. Both can
yes.
involve emotional changes. Can you think of anything else that I might have missed?
Mm. The loss or the ability to do what you could previously do when the symptoms were not there. And so it's
Right.
grieving the loss of, wow, I used to be able to do this, but now I'm having challenges. Now I'm struggling with this. And so that is a part of it as well.
That can lead to a loss of confidence and
Mm,
loss of trust, feeling misunderstood and
yes.
needing support and not getting it, needing time to adapt.
Yeah.
Watch what happens when we stop fighting the fact that we've changed and start leaning how to support who we're actually becoming.
Oh,
Oh,
I love that you mentioned that, Lisa. We have got to stop fighting the fact that we are changing.
yeah.
And it's, not that your body is broken, but your body requires a different level of support. That's all. Your body is communicating in a different way because our hormones have changed. And so now that that change has taken place, it's all right, what can I do now to support my body as my body is changing?
And what's one thing that they can do this week that you would
Yeah.
suggest?
I want you to take out some paper and write down some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing, whether that is your migraine headaches, whether that is not being able to sleep, whether that is you're feeling chronic inflammation within the body. And then after you take those symptoms down, we want to develop some type of strategy to address, even if it's just one simple thing that you are doing that is going to help alleviate whether it's some of the pain or the inflammation that you're experiencing, whether it is some of the stress that you're experiencing, to take time out for yourself, whether it's 10 minutes out of the day, to do something that's going to, one, lower your cortisol, your stress, pull away from the noise, pull away from all of the chaos, because when you're staying in the chaos, that's going to continue even with your hormones too. And so setting aside 10 minutes to just breathe, to nurture yourself, do something kind for yourself, and you'll be amazed at how your body is going to respond. You will be amazed because your body can't heal if you're continually staying in that chaotic state. So, pulling away 10 minutes out of the day, looking at those symptoms, listening to your body, and if it is something that is ongoing, and if it is something that is chronic that you just can't seem to get over, then that's the time where we've got to start reaching out for support, starting getting your blood work done, getting the support that you need to begin to manage those symptoms in a positive and a healthy way.
Good advice, Doc. We don't become the person we were before any loss. And especially with menopause, we don't become the person we were before menopause. We just learn how to care for the person that we're actually becoming.
There you go.
Ricky, yeah, thank you for this conversation. I want to give you an opportunity to share your resources with the audience right now.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much, Lisa. So, for those of you that are looking for additional support with your hormone health, you can find all of my resources on my Linktree page. You can find that at rockyourworldnaturally.com. Rockyourworldnaturally.com is where you'll find a free wellness assessment that you can take to find where you're at with menopause symptoms. You can listen to my podcast. You'll have access to free resources and free tools to help you navigate this new terrain.
Take an opportunity to sign up for her free gift at the top of the show notes, audience. Take that assessment. It's the first step in your health and wellness in working with Dr. McMillan. The links are in the show notes. And until next time, I'm always here to help you be the boss of your loss.